Hello and welcome. My name is Catherine Hecht. I'm the Executive Director of the Alexander Valley Film Society, and I am thrilled to welcome you to today's Focus On with AVFS. During our Shelter in Place series, I'm dialing in from 1986 apparently, but I'm logging on today from my home office here in Cloverdale, California. And today we have an amazing group of folks with us. Youth Documentary Academy is here along with some of the student filmmakers from this year, and couldn't be more excited to talk about their artwork, their lives, their experience, what's going on for them in the time of COVID. But before we get started, a little word from our sponsors. We want to give a shout out. It is November, so it is the month of gratitude, and we want to get a shout out to everybody who has supported us this year, whether you've made a donation, you've sponsored in kind, you sponsored the film festival. The list is too long to name everyone right now, but you know who you are. Thank you for being a part of what we do and for making what we do a priority in the community. We love having the opportunity to have the conversations we've been having on Sundays at 2 p.m. And after today, we'll be taking a little mini holiday break until December 6th, when we'll be back in the studio with a surprise guest. And at this point, we're just so glad that we've been able to keep together, having these conversations, having the festival back in September. Thanks to you, our supporters, it looks like we're going to be able to carry through until this thing turns a corner. And until then, thank you for joining us today for another one of these conversations that are just made possible by the strangeness of these times. Being able to talk to people from across the country and connect with artists, young, old, other. It's such a treat and such a benefit in a time made so strange by the strangest of circumstances. And we hope you're all safe and healthy with your loved ones today. So let's get started. I am very excited to bring in the studio today. We have 4 young filmmakers with us and the founder of Youth Documentary Academy, Tom Shephard. Let's get everybody in to say hello. Hello, hello, hello. It's so good to see all these beautiful faces. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Catherine. Great to be here. Thanks for having us.
Tom, welcome back. It's a thrill to have you back in the studio so soon. I feel so lucky.
Same here.
And Tom, let's get started with you. Where are you? I keep saying dialing in, and really, we don't have modems really anymore. So I should probably stop saying that. Where are you joining us from today?
So I'm in Colorado Springs, Colorado, where we run the Youth Documentary Academy. And we started this organization about 8 years ago with folks in the education community, filmmakers, artists, and really creating a kind of training academy for young filmmakers from really, really diverse backgrounds and who also really kind of see themselves as an access point to stories. So for those students that you're meeting today and others in our program, they had to sort of pitch us with a story that they've wanted to tell, something that they're passionate about or something that's been an important issue in their life. And every year we bring in 12 new students, and at the end of that year we have 12 new films that we work with these filmmakers throughout the year to then distribute and engage audiences around Colorado, but also increasingly around the country.
Amazing. And Tom, before we move on to our student filmmakers, I just want to take a moment and acknowledge the work that you and your colleagues have done to make this a reality for these young people, and tell you that we're going to steal, if not use, everything you've done. I really can't wait to collaborate more deeply on this. This is just incredible stuff. So let's go around the horn. Hannah, would you like to kick us off? Tell us a little bit about where you are, what your film is, and maybe a sentence or two about how you're doing today.
Well, I'm Hannah Duran, and my film was Hannah's Home. It was about adoption and the trials and tribulations that can come with both mothers from the side of the family, and especially how it can affect the child who is in the middle, basically. But it was amazing to create it. Right now, I am currently in my biological mother's house because I live with her now, and I'm very happy I do.
Wow. Thanks for sharing that. Awesome. Okay, Madison, how about you?
Hi, I'm Madison. I'm currently in Boulder in my dorm room. It's super windy here. Um, and my film is called Right of Mind, and it's about the stigma that society places on mental illness and how that can come to affect those who are diagnosed and how that like impacts their own like reflection of themselves.
Excellent. Thank you. Bat.
I'm in Pueblo, Colorado, my hometown right now, and my film is called Gorgeous. It's about like my journey through like body image and the people that are around me that help me love myself and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Awesome. And Callista.
Hi, I'm Kalista, and I'm in Colorado Springs, and my film is called I'll Be There, and it's a suicide prevention film and to spread awareness, and it's also a tribute to one of my dear friends, Ricky. It's a very delicate topic, but it needs to be talked about, and I'm glad that the film has been through where it's been, and I'm glad it's impacted a lot of people, and yeah.
Amazing. By the way, congrats to all of you. All of your films were selected as finalists at the what am I trying to say? The high school film. What is it, Tom?
The All-American High School Film
All-American
Festival.
High School Film Festival. So no big deal. Just finalists at the biggest festival in the country. So let's talk about the films a little bit and making them. I don't think I knew actually until just now that you had to pitch your idea to make the film. That makes this even more rich. You all told such personal stories. So can you let's start there and just talk a little bit about putting the story together, maybe do you consider it brave to tell the stories you told? Was it something that had just been yearning to get out of you? Can you just share a little bit about that process with us? And Madison, if we could start with you, that would be great.
Yeah, so like Tom said, when we interview to be a part of the program, we have to pitch to them a few ideas. And I had thought about doing the film on my mom and her diagnosis for a while, but I was very on the edge about it. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to put like such a large piece of my life out there. And so, I mean, without Tom and everyone, I wouldn't have been able to do it just because of my own like insecurity about it. But the biggest factor was actually my mom, and she was the one who was actually pushing me to put her story out there. And so I think it was just more so my mom was ready for that, and her being ready for that pushed me to be ready. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like my mom is probably the bravest person I've ever met, because that is such a large piece of her story. And there are like people in our family who didn't even know this about her. So yeah.
Wow. Madison, when you look back on making the film now, do you see, now that it's been shared with other people, can you sense the impact that the film has had?
Yeah, definitely. It's like I had a showing at a church one day, and this lady, she came to the viewing and she just started sobbing during my film because her daughter had experienced something similar. And it's like, and it was such an emotional and like surprising impact that my film had. And I think that was like the first time that I really realized like how big of an issue it is and how important it is for people to talk about. And yeah.
Marvelous. Bat, what about you? Your story too was so personal. How did that come out for you?
I think at first I was trying to find something about other, like an outside thing that I could make a film about. But then I started to realize that like something in me was telling me that I needed to like say what I needed to say about like body image and stuff, because even it's crazy to look back, because even back then, like even when we were making the film, like I even felt the same exact way that I felt when I was talking about it. You know what I mean? Like, in that moment. And I can honestly say like over the past few months, like I have blossomed as a person. Like I've changed my identity. It's just I've been blossoming, honestly. And to look back at that, like I feel like a lot of the time I did rely on the people around me to help me and uplift me, because it's so hard when you have people like whispering in your ear that you can't do it or that you're not beautiful. It just makes it so much harder on everybody. And like the message I was trying to portray through my film was that like you need to surround yourself with people that support you all the time. You know what I mean? Because even if they are family, like they could be toxic, and you need to choose your family instead of like just sticking with what you have and settling, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah. And what about, have you, since sharing the film with the public, have you seen the impact in the community? Have you had people reflect back to you how important it is to hear that message?
Yeah, I have. Most of my family, they're pretty heavyset girls and stuff, and they watched my film and they felt the same way as me, and they didn't realize like how I had felt about my body like my whole life, but they felt the same exact thing. The same with my friends that were in the film and stuff like that too. So yeah.
Good for you. Good for you. Kalista, what about you?
I cannot find the mute button. Okay. With my film, I had first wanted to make a film originally when my first year, trying to do like military, because I'm a military child. So that was my original idea. But then the month before I came back to YDA, I had experienced a loss, a real big loss in my life, and I didn't know how to handle it. So I kind of used YDA as a way to find my closure, to process this grief that I didn't understand. But I felt like I should dedicate this film to his family as well, because I felt like they needed something, because they were struggling with processing it as well, especially your son. Like that's so hard to do. And so I got pushed to do it. I felt like I needed to do it. And without YDA, without the team I had, I probably wouldn't have made it the way I did, because I was very skeptical of how I was going to do this, because my biggest concern was that I would do something wrong with the film and it would be insulting towards somebody. Because that is such a tricky and delicate topic to talk about, and especially with someone's son, if I were to say something wrong, which I loved him. So it was like, I didn't want to say anything, you know? So I had a lot of like concerns about it, but once it was released, I realized it didn't only impact his family, it impacted a lot of people I've come across. His family, they came up to me and they were like, this is amazing. I don't get impressed, but I'm impressed. And I still stay in contact with her. We're gonna.
I was gonna ask. What did you say? Sorry.
I was gonna say we're gonna catch up soon.
Oh, good.
So she's doing well, and I check in on the youngest. I try to, you know, and I love that family. And with the film, it also impacted a lot of people who have gone through loss. A lot of people have come up to me saying that this helped them move on, that it also helped them stop from what they're doing. I've had a lot of mix when it comes to suicide from different points of view, but it's helped them. And I realized that I'm not only helping myself and their family, but the community around me and the states. I've sent it out to my family. I've sent it out to certain film festivals, and I'm just glad that I've gotten the same result of saying it's helped all of them. So.
There's honestly, we're going to take half an hour and talk today. There's so much I want to talk to you all about. I feel like I have so much I want to ask and say, but Tom, I do want to shift to you for 1 second. Your last name is not lost on me in this moment. Can you tell us a little bit about the process of being pitched from young people on these stories and the personal nature of them, and pardon the pun, but how you start the shepherding process in terms of storytelling.
No, it's such a great process for us as faculty. So we have a couple filmmakers from California that often come out, and we work with a filmmaker in Denver. And so in that sense, there's a lovely collaboration on both sides of the camera. But we learn a lot from these young folks. And I think we knew when we started the program that young people were going to find a voice through filmmaking. It's such, this is what documentary film is. It's very emotional. It opens hearts. It opens minds. There's a way for young people to kind of channel a voice and amplify a voice around important issues. I think maybe what we didn't anticipate so much in what you're hearing in this conversation is how, in some ways, how therapeutic and healing it is. And we've brought on a psychologist a couple of years ago to see, because a lot of folks like these young people are really chewing on some difficult topics, and they're shining light on very dark corners, and in some cases are processing some childhood trauma in the making of the film. So on the one hand, you have to be very careful not to have a kind of repetition of trauma. But on the other hand, we see this powerful thing that happens that often sort of, lies in the more limbic kind of flight or fight parts of our brain and as we develop. And there's something about making these films, about interviewing these folks, about chewing on these difficult topics, but in a way in which they're owning the story, in which they're directing the very things in some cases that were their Achilles heels or the sort of difficult tangles in their life, and kind of flipping that experience. And in almost every case, you're meeting 4 really amazing young women here, but we have, over the years, 100 just like them who are really taking this craft and very powerfully moving through intense experiences. And then what a gift to have this film for audiences that sort of ripple out. Our latest kind of amplification of the work is on a show called Our Time, which is a TV series for public television that now airs every year on Rocky Mountain PBS. So not only are people locally in Pueblo and Colorado Springs seeing these films, people now across the state, 1 million people are seeing it each year. And so many people can have that experience of seeing and feeling and watching.
Good on you. This is just so impressive and so right on in so many ways. And I hope you all can feel that. Hannah, let's segue to you. I think that's a great a great way to kind of get into your story, deeply personal. Thank you for sharing it. And can you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, my story was actually super hard for me to talk about because it was so personal, and I didn't even know if it was going to cause a bigger rift between me and my 2 moms. A lot when I came into the interview, as you would call it, with Tom and all them, I was scared out of my mind. I was thinking, how am I going to pitch this? How am I going to say it to where it makes sense? And as I went on, I realized that not only did I really think that people needed to hear about adoption, but it also caused me great pain to know that some people think that just being adopted is done and over with, and that they don't even think about their family or their life or anything else. So that's really what drove me to.
And when you, sorry, if everybody could, Hannah, maybe turn your output, your volume down just a little bit, because I'm getting a feedback loop. Perfect. But could you tell us a little bit now about, you don't have to go into personal details, but the impact that your film has had on people in your life who have watched it?
My brother and sister on my adoptive side has actually stopped picking on me as much because they kept thinking, oh, she's just really wanting to leave us and everything. But when they saw the film, they realized that it wasn't the case. I was just confused and as scared as probably they were. My biological mom always thought that she made me feel like I hated her, that I didn't want to love her anymore. So when she saw the film, I remember her bursting into tears and hugging my dad, just crying. And my little biological brother was just something to do it. and it just made me happy to know that she sees that I still love her, even though something had to happen that I personally would never want to happen.
So I'm curious. I'm curious now for the young filmmakers here. Did you have an opportunity? Were you working together? Were you critiquing each other's work or looking at each other's work in the process? Was it an iterative process like that? And if so, what did you take away from that? Bat, how about you?
I felt like the other team members were super helpful with my film. They were so on board and like just what like I tell them what to do and they do it type thing, you know? That's how I like things. But it was amazing. They showed up for everything. They were supportive. They understood. They were everything. I love collaborating with my other filmmakers. It's a good experience.
Nice. Madison, anything to add on that?
Yeah, like when you're out and you're filming, you're always in like a group of 3, and so like you're not only working on your film, but you're working on 2 other people or 3 other people's films also. And so it is a really big collaborative like work, and everything you do is like going through someone else, and everyone is like giving their like advice and helping you through it. And it's like when I was like signing up for the program, I was worried that I was gonna have to do a lot of it on my own, and like I obviously knew nothing about making a film. I knew nothing about like what would draw attention and everything. But no, it's super collaborative with your peers and with faculty, and it's a very great experience, and I would highly recommend
Hannah,
it.
for you, what was that like to have the peers with you while telling your personal story like that?
I was very scared on whether or not they would judge me. I'm not even gonna lie, because when I was in school, a lot of times I would get judged because I didn't lead a normal life. So when I was able to meet my team, I just felt so relieved. They were with me 100% of the way. They were so supportive, and it just made me feel at home.
That's rad. Rad. And Kalista, how about you?
I'm a crybaby. So I was like, all right, everyone's gonna see me cry. It's gonna be interesting. But I did have a lot better connections with the team who was helping me, and I loved going out to help people film theirs. Like it was fun. I got to help Bat's film, and I had so much fun, and I got a lot closer with the other filmmakers as well, and especially Bat. I felt like I got closer with her or them. I'm so sorry. Them. And it's just fun. You get to tell stories that you got to have that bond with them, but also you're creating something and they're seeing your personal life. And so they were meeting people that I see at school who helped me film. And then it was just 2 worlds that were kind of combined, and it was just really weird to like balance that for a second. Because I'm like, what if they're weirded out? I scare them off, or what if there's just so many concerns, but it worked out perfectly. Everyone got along, and I for sure had a lot of like close friendships. I still talk to my editor. I called him like 2 days ago to check in. We do this check-in thing, and yeah, so I just think that it brought everybody together, and I love that. I love that I can say I have this family bond with YDA.
Yeah, boy, this seemed to really work out in a lot of ways for a lot of folks. So one last round of questions. I want to check in and see, you've made these films, you've had the success with the film, you've told these deeply personal stories that seem to be across the board cathartic, healing. You've received a lot of positive feedback, impact of your work and your commitment. What is it like now? We're in COVID, we're in this weird time. What are you doing to stay creative? What are you doing to keep those creative juices flowing? If not, are you making more films? Or tell us a little bit about your creative life. And Bat, let's start with you.
I've been doing a lot more like makeup and body modification things related. I've recently shaved off my eyebrows. because I don't need them anymore. But I've just been really doing a lot of makeup and a lot of like cosplay type stuff. And I'm gonna start getting into resin soon and stuff like that. And I feel like after my film, like I get to reflect back on it. You know what I mean? And I get to say like, this is where I was and like this is who I am now. Because growing as a person for me is so important. And I feel like it did build my character. And I hope that like it reaches people, that it really impacts them because they need it the most. So
awesome. Thank you. Calista, what about you?
So with during COVID, personally it's been tough, but I've had a lot of people come to me about like suicide kind of conversations. So I feel like I can have a better, more researched like conversation with them because I know it and I've dealt with it. So I have more things to say and more things to help cope with it. And so because during COVID and people in lockdown, there's been a lot of people who have been suicidal. I think the rates have increased, and it's frightening for me. And I worry about my friends. So I do a lot more check-ins with them to make sure they're okay. I make sure that if they want to have this conversation, that they're okay to speak to me, because it's hard times. It's hard to be in a house for months and like dealing with all of this. And so to cope with all of that, I do my best to like check in, do what I can. And I will say I feel like the indie films have had a lot more chance to broadcast their films. I was talking to my teacher about it because I'm a student at the Colorado Film School. So I've been making screenplays at the moment. But we've talked about like the independent films, the independent film industry, and how we're starting to have more of an advantage because of these times to get our films out because people are at home. Because you have all of these Hollywood films that come out in the theater. So the theaters have shut down. So, people are streaming and they come across independent films. So I think that's also helped YDA get their films out a little bit better to where we have more of an audience. And I may not know the statistics of the YDA right now, but I will say in the independent film industry, I think we've had a lot more success.
I won't disagree with you. I mean, we certainly, we have your films playing right now for our audience, and they wouldn't have had access to those otherwise. So yeah, it's incredible. Hannah, how about you? How are you staying creative during COVID?
Well, I am definitely doing more horseback riding. I have been doing barrel racing and other activities. I am thinking about joining a film school. Just haven't found the right one for me particularly yet. I am hoping to go into welding soon. So I'm just really hoping that something will kick off.
Nice. And Madison, last but not least, what are you doing creatively these days?
I'm an English major, and reading and writing have been like what I'm passionate about for as long as I can remember. So I'm very lucky to be in an environment with great professors and amazing classes that have like allowed me to write what I want to write and read what I want to read. And so I think a lot of my creativity has gone into like the work that I'm producing for those classes, and I'm really excited about that. And I've made some really good connections with my professors, and
Pat, jump in.
I almost forgot the most important thing that I do. I've been doing a lot of activism, which I encourage you all to do. I mean, it's just like in times like these, especially, like with the shift of whatever's going on, like you have to stay active in your community and you have to protest and you have to do all these things, of course, with masks, of course, with social distancing, but it's so important during these times, especially with what's going on and the climate of politics and such right now. So that's all I had to say.
Oh my God, I love you all so much. So Tom, take us home. Let's talk, tell us what you've got going on, and then let's talk about how we can help YDA.
Thank you. Yeah, I just agree with all these folks, and it's been a really interesting time kind of hibernating and, letting sort of imagination percolate in terms of projects. But I will say our organization has taken a hit financially in light of COVID, and there were a couple foundations locally who felt they had to kind of shift gears and support organizations who are maybe doing more kind of what are termed as essential needs. So we've hit the ground running, and I'm in Colorado Springs for the next couple of months to really try and raise the profile of the work of these young people, and every day just sort of beat the drum. We have a giving campaign that's part of Colorado Springs nonprofit organizations. It's called Indie Give. And so YDA is part of that, and we're trying to get the word out. So for the next 6 weeks, people can go to the URL that you have there, catherineindygive.com/YDA. And, even a $5 donation makes a big difference. We're actually trying to target younger folks. There's a prize for the organization that raises the most money from donors who are under the age of 35. So you all can get your friends to, give a $10 donation, and that'll get us closer to getting even more support. So that's, I'd say, where we are right now is a little bit more in the kind of getting the word out, connecting with people in the community who sort of see the value and the power of filmmaking, and also of kind of young people, like amplifying their voices. And lastly, I would say for folks who might be interested in kind of sponsoring some of these films on public television, we're talking to folks about what that looks like. How PBS at the top and the bottom of the hour, you hear, major funding for this program was brought to you today by you and viewers like you. So those are the things that I'm kind of thinking about and working on each day, and getting excited about next year, and hopefully a sort of a vaccine in a post-COVID world where we can all gather again and make films and learn together.
Well, this is great. And as soon as we're done, I am going to go make a contribution of my own. I'm just so proud of all of you, and I can't tell you how deep and delightful and rich the stories you told are, and how impactful they were to me personally, and I've heard from other people, and it's watching your work has given me so much information about what I hope, hopefully with Tom's help, but hopefully we'll be able to give to more students this kind of opportunity. I think you did great. So congratulations. We did have somebody asked, who was that walking behind Hannah? And Hannah just said it was her older brother. It is not a ghost. Well, listen, thank you all so much for being here. I'm going to stick around. I'm going to make some closing remarks, but I'd love to just chat for a minute in the studio after we're done. Okay, so let's thank our guests today, Tom, Calista, Bat, Madison, Hannah. Thank you. Godspeed. Have a safe holiday season, and hopefully we'll see you here again soon. Sound good?
Thank you so much for having us, Catherine.
Thank you. So as we finish out here today, just a reminder that we can't do what we do without your support. If you're feeling generous, let's give to the Indie Give campaign today, as well as the Film Society. We're getting ready to relaunch a membership campaign that'll be coming up on December 1st. So stay tuned for that. But until then, we are signing off for the next couple of weeks, and we'll be back to you after Thanksgiving, after the Thanksgiving holiday. It is the month of November. It is Gratitude Month. And boy, are we thankful to be here and have the opportunity to continue to do this work. Until we can gather safely again, stay connected, stay sane, and stay safe. We'll see you later. Bye.